Hi everyone and welcome back. Let's talk about rest of the questions. So here you can see we are trying to do the destructuring of object. Here we can actually assign my name to this particular string, but here we are trying to do console.log name. So name is not any kind of property. The destructuring will do the mapping of this object with that, and you will get the value of my name, not name. So we should get reference error, because when we unpack this, name will be not defined. It will just throw reference error here. This is a pure function. Pure function is a function that will return same output whenever you are actually passing the same input. It doesn't do any kind of read write operation to database or file system. It will always be immutable, like it doesn't mutate the reference which you are passing. So yes, we can see sum is a pure function. Here what is the output? Here we are doing some kind of a caching. If number is in the cache, otherwise we are actually assigning num inside a cache. So if you are trying to do add function, this will calculate it. Then the rest of the function, I think it will get from the caching. So calculated 20, then it will get these from the caching only. So add function, you will see the 10, it is the same argument. So first it will see, okay, I'm not in the cache object, so it will print it here, and then for the remaining two calls it will get it from the cache, I think. So answer should be C. Here we are doing a for in loop and for of loop on the array. So for in loop will give us the keys, so keys will be 0 1 2 3, and for of loop will give the actual values, so it will be answer should be A. Here what we are doing is this is the list, and this is a simple array. So right, so array values can be evaluated, so it should be 3 2 and 1.5, sorry, 0.5. Answer should be C. Here what we are doing is console.log say hi, and we are not passing name while calling it, so name should be undefined. It should be hi there, undefined. Answer should be B. Now another important question is, so we have a status and this is set timeout block, and here we are calling get status, and another we are passing calling get status with passing this as a inside a call. So here we are trying to override the context of this inside this function. So here we are calling data.get status. So this is our object data and we are calling get status here. So data.get status, it will actually try to get the value this dot status, which should be coming from this scope only. So it should print status, because this dot status is this, and when you are calling it when you are actually doing dot call and passing this context, it means you can access this dot state from the global scope which is available here. So I think it should be B. Yes, so this dot get status, currently it will point to the data object, so status will be this, and when you override the context using dot call, it will point to this status. Okay, so here what we are doing is person object person dot city, which is undefined, and then you are copying, you are assigning city Amsterdam, which is getting added to the global scope, and we are doing console.log person. So person is not impacted because you are not modifying the property of person object, so it should be A only. Now check is, we are passing this 21 and we are trying to print message. The important thing here is we have this constant message and trying to print it here. Let and const can't be accessed outside the block, so it should be the reference error C, right, because we are trying to access it message here, but this is not available here. Now what kind of information would be logged? This will return promise. We are doing dot then dot then, the result of the fetch method. Now the result would be a second invocation of fetch method, the result of a callback in the previous dot then. Yes, so whatever we are getting here, we are doing a dot then, so the response is printed whatever we are receiving from the previous callback. The answer should be C. Okay, which of the option is the best way to set has name equal to true? So name, no, this is not, I mean, having some value is always true, but that doesn't mean it's a boolean true, right? So name dot length is a numeric value, so yes, this will always be treated as a boolean, either true or false, so A should be fine. So in JavaScript, when you try to evaluate it like this, a string with passing index, and it will return the index of that character, so it should be I. Here we are actually trying to print some 10 we are passing. So in the default argument, you can also initialize the other argument based on the previous argument. So name2 will be assigned with the same value as name1, so output should be 20. Okay, that is correct. Coming to this, here we have module.js. Here we are importing a module and trying to print it. So in this module, most of the time what we do is either we do a default export or we do a named export. Means either you will have only a default export from a file. Here we have both. Here we have a named export, a name variable, and default export, this function. So if you try to print the data, which is everything which you are exporting from the module.js, then it should be, this is the default export, this is the named export, so output should be A. Oh, that is correct. Now type of member, it's a constructor function, right? So member should be object. Simple, this is the class, we are creating the object of it. Member of member is an object. New list dot push, we already discussed that dot push will always return the new length of array. So dot push, new list will be a number, numeric value, and the output is 4, so you can't do a numeric value dot push, so output will be D. Okay, here we have these two functions, one is arrow function, one is the normal function. So normal function dot prototype will points to a constructor, and the arrow function dot prototype will points to undefined, so output should be D. Okay, here we have a person object. In the person object we have object dot entries. So object dot entries will give us an array of key value pair x and y. So x and y should object dot keys, object dot values, object dot entries. These are the different methods, right? So object dot entries will give us the key value pair. So x and y should be name Ladia and is 21. So answer should be A. Okay, now get items, right? So get items, we are passing these, we are calling this function, and we have these arguments. So always remember, in the function definition you should use this rest parameter as a last argument. So because what we are doing, I have the first argument, second argument, and rest of the arguments I am calling them as a rest parameter argument, ERGS. So it should be a syntax error, I think, because argument should be the last argument in the function. Yeah, so argument is a rest parameter, and it should be the best if we are keeping it at the last. What is the output here? So we are calling nums 4 2, 4 is greater than 2, so console.log b, it will print console. And when you are not specifying any semicolons, then JavaScript will automatically put semicolon at the end of the line, so that means it is returning undefined. This function is returning undefined, so it should be A is bigger, undefined, then by calling this it will print B is bigger, and again undefined. So whenever you write return, always write the return statement in the same line. I mean at least the starting of that string. Here we kept that line empty, so that means it is returning undefined. Here we have person class, and here we have person as a variable. Assigning, this is anonymous class, we assigned this other person class to the person. Now we are creating the object. Yes, this is how you can create the object of the person. It is same as anonymous class or anonymous function. Member.name is Sarah, so it should be B. Info, right? So info, and there is a symbol and there is a value. We already discussed about this. Object.keys can't get the keys which are symbol. It's because symbols are non-enumerable properties of an object. So info will be symbol A and B, and object.keys will be empty array. Object.keys for in loop cannot look for those properties which are enumerable false, and symbols are not enumerable. The output should be D. Now this thing get list get user. So get list, we are passing this arrow function, and it is returning x and y. User is, there is another function get user, you are passing user and returning name and age. Let's see, get list and list, we are passing array. So in that case it should return x as 1 and rest of the argument are treated as a y as an array. So it should be 1 2 3 4 as an array. I think 1 and 2 3 4, because y is considered as an array. 1 2 3 4, and then name is this, age is this, should be B. Okay, it is A Y. Let's see this. So get user, and it is returning this object. Name is user.name and age is user.age. We can see get user, we are passing user object. It is taking user object and it is returning user.name and user.age. Okay, this is little strange. Let's see the explanation. Okay, the get user function receives an object. With arrow function we don't write the curly brackets. If we just return one value, however, if you want to return, okay, yeah. So this mistake we have done. If you want to really return an object, right, you have to wrap it inside a returned object into a brackets. If you want to return an object from an arrow function, you have to write between the parentheses, otherwise no value get returned. Okay, so it's not returning anything for us, so it's considered as undefined. Here what would be the output? Name is a variable, we can't call it. Should be a syntax error, type error. So name holds the value of a string which is not a function, thus can't invoke. Yeah, I mean it's a syntax error. Okay, so here we have 100th question. Output is dollar array and I am. Okay, this is a string, not null. This is also empty object, so it will just return it will return I am possible. I mean impossible if we concat both the string, and you should see a therapist, because it's an empty string, so it will become false. So yeah, impossible, you should see a therapist. Okay, coming to this, what will be the value of output? 1 2 3. Okay, false, empty bracket, so this false, this is an object, so it will become true. So any of this is true, then it will return that value, so empty object, I think. Second is null is also already a false, and 2 will be empty quotes, I think, because null, false, and false. And okay, let's see third one. it is object, 0 is false and true. So this will be considered as a value. So output of this is correct and first is correct, so output should be C. Okay, here we go, 102. Here we have one my promise dot resolve. First function my promise dot then console dot log second. Then there is a second function. So first function we are calling, so it should return console.log response. I have resolved second, so it should print second I have resolved. So output should be D, second I have resolved and I have resolved second. Yes, I mean when you are doing await, then you have to wait until this promise is resolved, then it will print second. Here it will print second first and then it will print I have resolved. Okay, so these are pretty much for this video. Rest we will cover in the last video.